Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction for Manchester City against Manchester United, the Manchester derby. And I tell you what, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a barrage of questions aimed at him today, which I actually think were very, very good. There wasn't actually much of an injury update in that press conference, but we've dug a little bit deeper and we have found out some injury news for you as well. So that's why I was a little bit late. But lots and lots to get into. He was asked about the drop in form. He insisted we haven't had a drop in form. He said that we're not playing counter-attacking football. We're playing on the front foot with the press. He also said that we are making progress. He said he was also asked questions, very good questions about why there's a gap to Manchester City, is second to City an achievement, and when we're talking about transfers, how do you compete with Manchester City in the transfer market? So lots and lots and lots and lots of good questions put to Ollie, and we're going to crack on with that right now. The first thing I wanted to say is that I suppose the most pertinent question for me, and there's 4 or 5 questions I really want to get into, and I've highlighted those. Why is the gap to City? We'll answer that. He answered that one, and talking about the way we're playing football as well. But I think that the question I want to start off with that he was asked is that Ed Woodward has said that there's progress at Manchester United. What would be your response to that, Ollie, about progress at Manchester United? And he said, well, if you compare it to last season, we're better off. We're still in the cups, but realistically, it's about there is progress in the league this season, which got me thinking, because I've spent the last couple of weeks, coincidentally, we've been talking about how 3 years ago under Jose Mourinho we were second behind a Man City who were miles ahead, and after the same amount of games we've got 50 points and Mourinho had 56 points. So that's not really progress, is it, when you compare points total, league position, which is what Ollie is sort of pushing us towards. But I think more interesting is that actually where Ollie is looking is very short term. He's looking at last season and comparing it to this season. And interestingly enough, last season after 27 games, we had 41 points. If we had those 41 points now, we would be below Spurs. We would be God knows where. We'd be almost touching distance with Arsenal. So we were horrific last season. 41 points last season is what we had after 27 games. However, a more interesting one would be 2 seasons ago when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had taken over at Christmas. And he went on that great run, and by now, more or less he's getting to the point where he was going to be offered the job. We actually had 52 points 2 years ago under Solskjaer, which is 2 more points than we've got now. So it's very interesting when you look at the last 3 seasons of Manchester United and compare it now. And we already know that this season's a weird season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said on Sunday it's the battle of 2 records. Man City's 21 winning streak and our 21 away unbeaten streak. Well, I tell you what, it's not really a battle, is it? It's a great achievement against a good achievement. I mean, I'd rather win 21 games in a row than be 21 games unbeaten away from home. Because, I mean, I'm not disputing that being unbeaten 21 times away from home is very, very good. But how many of those games were played with fans in the ground? And I think United have clearly struggled at Old Trafford since we've lost the fans, and I think we've benefited away from home with the other teams not having fans. But it is interesting, isn't it? Where do you mark progress? Because I said at the start of the season, for me, it's about points total this season. We've got to improve on 65 last year, which we should do. 11 games left. We're 5 wins off what we got last season. I'm expecting United to get 75 to 80 points this season, which, I don't care what anybody says, that would be progress, and that's what Solskjaer's got to do. But let's not forget, 2 years ago, Solskjaer had 2 more points than he's got now. 3 years ago, Mourinho had 6 more points than we've got now. The only progress is compared to last year, which was a shit season. You'd bloody want to improve on last season. 41 points at this point last season is ridiculous, isn't it? So there is progress on last season, but I think many Manchester United fans aren't looking at the last 12 months, Ollie. We're looking at the last 8 years. And Ollie's journey, you're not going to get the patience of, let's keep resetting the clock, because we've got the same board, we've got the same chief executive, we've got the same owners, and we've got the same approach to transfers. So maybe maybe when Ollie's talking about progress and Woodward's talking about progress, they're talking about over the last 12 months. But I don't think United fans are giving that patience. We're like, well, hold on, Ollie was manager 2 years ago. So welcome to the members club, Chris Lockett. So I thought that was quite interesting that he spoke about progress and league position, because I do agree that points total is going to be very important this season. The next thing I want to talk about is, well, we'll talk about injuries just very, very quickly, actually, and then we'll go on to why the gap is there between Man United and City, because he was asked that question. But on injuries, Ollie didn't actually answer it in the press conference, but we have got the information. So he was asked about injuries. I just want to say, should have said it at the start of the show, congratulations to David De Gea. Him and his girlfriend have had their first child. This is why he's gone back to Spain, and the news has come out today. So it's fantastic news, and a big congratulations, I'm sure, from every Manchester United fan for David and his girlfriend in the birth of their first child, which is a big, big thing. And Solskjaer obviously said that, life matters. This has happened in Spain. No one's going to stand in the way of somebody going back to do that. And he even quite rightly came out and said some of the press stories are unfair on David De Gea and on Manchester United fans, putting information out there that's not true. I haven't seen what those stories might be, but Ollie said, look, we gave David our blessing. He wanted to go back to Spain for the birth of his first child, which is totally acceptable, totally understandable, and he had our full backing in doing that. When will he be back playing? Ollie said, he could be back really soon, but the world that we're living in is different at the moment. So whereas he played, his child was born on he said his child was born on the Saturday during the Euros, and he was playing for Norway on the Tuesday. That's not going to happen with David, because he's got to abide by quarantine rules. So I would imagine De Gea might be back for Milan next week, but because Milan next week would probably be a Dean Henderson game anyway, I think he probably could be back for the West Ham game next weekend. He's obviously not going to be back for Man City. Ollie's being more diplomatic, shielding the board, the players himself, and coaching, kind of like what we do with centre-backs. We really need to go on a winning run, not just an unbeaten run. We're Man United, not Spurs, as Angie S. And this never gets read out, probably because you think it's crazy, but Luke Shaw is a CDM on his own. He has all the attributes. Tellez at left-back, play 4-3-3, says K9 Academy. I don't think Luke Shaw's got the body shape to be a centre defensive midfielder. And when I talk about body shape, I'm talking about football body shape, not physical body shape. He's very left-footed. He's very fast. He's not right-footed at all. And what was he going to do when he's on the right side of the pitch? He's going to be very left-footed. I don't think Luke Shaw would be a good CDM, but maybe I'm wrong. On injuries, he did. This was not said in the press conference, but we found this out. You can check it out on the United Stand Twitter account. I think it is via the website, actually, of Manchester United. Lindelof is most likely to be back for Sunday. I'm sure that fills everybody with joy that Lindelof will be back. I'd rather Lindelof wasn't back and Martial and Pogba and Van der Beek were back, to be honest with you, because we need to score goals. But Lindelof is the most likely player to be back on Sunday, so it will be Magaluf. Pogba, no. Martial maybe, and no mention of Donny van der Beek. He's so insignificant, he doesn't even get bloody mentioned now. So I don't know, I can't give you any update on van der Beek, but Lindelof should be back, Martial maybe, Pogba no. So we could be in a very similar situation to the team that we had on Wednesday night against Crystal Palace there. But obviously we know there's no David De Gea in that game. So moving on, why is the gap to City? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked, and he said, I can only control what happens here. Well, you can't, Ollie. You can't, actually. It's a very, very good question. Why is the gap there between Manchester City and Manchester United? What is it? Is it transfers? Is it players? Is it coaching? Is it board? I thought it was a really good question that didn't get answered. And what he basically said is that, I can only control what happens here. And you can't. That's the problem. That was Van Gaal's problem. That was Mourinho's problem. That was Moyes' problem. You can't control what's going on at this football club. That is the problem. Because you're not in control. You're not getting backed. You're not getting what you wanted. You're getting third and fourth choices. So you're not in control. That is the problem. And the reality is what we were talking about this morning. The difference between Manchester United and Manchester City is Manchester City have got better players, better coaches, they've got a director of football, and they've got a board that wants to be the best football team in the world. That's the difference between us. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer cannot sit and say that. He can't say that. He literally cannot say that. Imagine if he'd sat there and said, well, let's be honest with you, Kadiki's not as good as what... he cannot come out and say they've got better players than us, they've got better coaches than us, they've got better facilities than us, they've got a director of football, and they've got a board that wants to win things. He can't say that, but that's the answer. 75 to 80 points, we've got to play Liverpool, City, Tottenham, Leicester. That's 4 points from 12, plus many teams in the top 10. I predict this, in the next 11 games, we'll get 21 points at most, says DK. Take us over 70, it's still progression. It will still be sold as progression. There was something I wanted to say in relation to that. Oh, okay. I want to bring this in as well. He was also asked, secondary to what's the gap with Man City, more or less the same question, but in a different way. How do you compare with Manchester City in the transfer window? What do you think about the difference between Man City and Man United in the transfer window? Well, this will be a very, very important question for a lot of you. And he said, I only focus on what we do, which I think is a mistake. I think that's a mistake statement by Ollie, by the way. So when you're talking about Man City's transfer policy and Man United's policy, he's basically saying, I only focus on what we're doing. Well, that's always a mistake. You must always look out. And I think Ollie was full of that a lot today. He was like, I'm only focusing on what I do. I'm only focusing on what we do because that's the only thing I can control. And I get that. I'm not criticising him saying that. But actually, in a statement way, you should be focusing on what your rivals are doing. You know, to say, I only focus on what we do. Well, if you're building a house and someone else is building a house and you just focus on your house, they might be doing things on their house that you'd like, or they might be doing it in a way that you'd never thought of, and it might give you some ideas. So you should always be looking at your rivals. You should always be looking at what Chelsea are doing, what Liverpool are doing, and what Man City are doing. But he also said, we've got our model to make us better, and City have got their model to make them better. And I think what he's referring to there is that our model is to buy people like Bruno Fernandes, Amad Diallo, players that are not superstars, but try and build them into superstars and give them that opportunity to grow. That is the United way. But it would be very dismissive to say that Man City's way is not that way either. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best players in the world. They didn't buy him from Real Madrid for 100 million. They brought him in from not the best team, not even the top 4 best teams in Germany. They brought him in from Germany and made him into one of the world's best players. So Manchester City, yeah, they do spend money, but their policy is very intelligent. They don't actually go for the 100, 120 million, 150 million pound player. They don't go for the Paul Pogba. They go for the 60, 70 million. I mean, look at Ruben Diaz. He's going to be one of the world's best centre-backs, but he wasn't when they bought him. And Manchester City have got a very, very, very consistent history of bringing those players in that are not there yet. I mean, to be honest with you, Bruno Fernandes would be an absolutely nailed on Man City type signing. 50 to 60 million pounds when you add in add-ons. Done very well at Sporting Lisbon, ready to take the step up. So I think Man City's transfer policy is just better than ours. They buy more Bruno Fernandes than we do. They're not like a Chelsea who spend 80 million on a player or something like, or a PSG or a Real Madrid. Hi Mark, it's pointless thinking about the summer transfers without resolving the Donny van de Beek situation. Why was he even bought, says Nicholas Addy? Because Ollie's not in control of his transfers like he thinks he is. What else did I want to talk about? There's so many good things he was asked about. We spoke about the injury, we spoke about Woodward. I'm going to talk about the drop-off in a minute, but he was also asked about basically the approach to games against the top 6 this season. He was basically asked about that. Now, this is going to be really interesting. I probably should have brought this in a bit sooner. I'm interested to see what you think about this. So, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, despite what people say, we're more positive this season than we were last season. We are playing high-pressing football on the front foot, whereas compared to last season, we were playing counter-attacking football and sitting deeper, which I don't like because it only makes one mistake and they're going to score a goal. And actually, this season we are playing more positive. Now, do you believe that comment? Do you not do you believe it, because I believe Solskjaer when he says it, but do you think that's happening? Do you think we're playing on the front foot, high pressing, more positive than we were last season, specifically in relation to the top 6 teams? And what it got me thinking is, I'm not going to call Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a liar. I think you can't have one without the other, really. I look at Man City when we played them last year. We beat them twice in the league, and we beat Chelsea twice in the league last year. And that was with counter-attacking football. That was sit deep and hit them on the break. We know that. I look at we've played Chelsea twice and Man City twice this season. We've drawn 0-0 with Chelsea twice, and we've drawn 0-0 with Man City, and we lost to them in the Carabao Cup. Are we more positive this season than last season? Well, the results are not more positive because we had 4 wins last year, and this year we've had 3 draws and a loss against Chelsea twice and Man City twice. Are we trying to play more positive? Well, I look at the first half against Chelsea at the weekend, and we did play very high up. And I look at the 0-0 against Man City in December, and we did have more of the ball without ever getting near their goal. But I don't think this is anything to do with us playing more positive against Chelsea and Man City as an example. And we've said this before. I think what's happened is Chelsea and Man City know full well what Ollie's tactics are. Sit deep, hit them on the break. So what Chelsea and Man City have done is they've gone, well, we're not going to go gung-ho full-on attack against you to leave the door open at the back. We're going to play a more measured game. Obviously, Man City have played a false nine against us this season. Chelsea played Giroud, which is never about playing high up the pitch. So I just think teams are wiser to us, and they almost invite us on so they can get at us on the break. And I think that's what's happened. But to say that we're playing more positive, I wouldn't call Solskjaer a liar to say that we're playing more positive. I think there may be an intent to play more positive. We haven't got the players to play more positive. And I would query how you play more positive. The only thing I would say about this, and make your own mind up, is how are we playing more positive this season against the top six than we were last year, but picking Magaluf and McFred? Is that not a double negative? Which apparently is a positive. But if you're playing Maguire and Lindelof, who are slow and are going to play 10 metres deeper than they would with Bailly anyway, and you're playing McFred, who we know babysit them, everybody says this, and our fullbacks are not getting us forward in as much as they normally do, how is that more positive? How is that a positive? There may be an intent to be more positive, but how are you going to be more positive when you're playing Magaluf and McFred and your fullbacks are not getting forward? And as we know, how are we playing more positive when against Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Bruno, Martial, Cavani, Rashford, Greenwood are all having shit games? So how are we playing more positive if our forwards are having bad games and you've got people who are playing deep? The intent might be to play more positive, but the personnel is not there for us to play more positive. And I do think it's very evident that Bruno Fernandes tries to press. We've spoken about this before. He's trying to press all the time. But Rashford's not pressing. Cavani's not really... Well, Cavani is pressing and Martial is pressing because they're number 9. I don't think the right winger, whoever it is pressing. And I certainly don't think the midfield 2 are pressing. And I don't think the back 4 are pressing. To press as a team, you've got to press as a team. The only time I've really seen us press brilliantly was Everton, Goodison Park. I mention it all the time. Carabao Cup, just before Christmas. Halfway line, defensive line. Midfield pressing, front 3 pressing. They couldn't get out. That's pressing. I've not seen that. I haven't seen that against the top 6. So I know we can do it, but I don't think we're pressing. If we are playing positive, we're picking the wrong people. And I think when you pick Magaluf and McFred, you are going to play quite defensive because it doesn't matter whether you tell the players to go out and play positive. They're not capable of doing it. So maybe there is a shift this year in trying to play more positive, but it's not translating into performance. And I think that's why people will say Ollie's talking out his arse, he's talking nonsense. But it's interesting that the manager's come out and said and admitted last year we were playing counter-attacking football. This year we're playing on the front foot, more positive and pressing. But we're not. His intent may be that. It's not visually being recognised, is it? What would you do if we didn't spend in the summer and they use COVID as an excuse again? Aiden 10, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing we can do. What can we do? There's nothing we can do. And it could happen, but hopefully it won't. He was also asked about second to City. Is that an achievement and is that progress? And he said, well, look, in relation to being second to City, I'm focusing on this game. It's important to improve on last year. Hopefully we can improve, maybe get to a final, and hopefully win a trophy. And Sunday against Man City is a chance to test ourselves. And this is the stagnation of Manchester United, isn't it, really? And this is not a criticism on Ollie or the players, but this is basically the line that comes out now. Second to Manchester City, is that an achievement? Is that progress? I'm only focusing on this game. I'm not talking about whether we're closing the gap on City. The main thing is that we're improving on last year. Hopefully we can get to a final this year and hopefully we can win a trophy. This progress is very slow. It's about testing ourselves against Manchester City again. Well, we're not testing. It's so confusing. I cannot give you a definitive answer on what what is progress anymore, because we beat Man City twice last year, but now we're testing ourselves against Man City this year. Do you know what I mean? There's contradiction in everything in football. I'm not trying to give you the definitive line here. All I'm doing is expressing what I think, and it's like, so Man City's a big test for us on Sunday, which it is because they're top of the league and they're the best team in the league. But last year we beat Man City twice, and we were a lot closer to them, and they were second place. So basically what's happened is, on our journey to progression, we were closer to Man City last year and we beat them twice in the league, and Liverpool were the best team. But this year, the gap is bigger to Man City, so we've got to test ourselves against the team that's moved away from us in the last year. And there's the answer. Last year, Liverpool were the best. Not this year. Liverpool were the best last year. Man City are the best this year. We beat Man City but twice last year. We haven't beaten them this year. But the gap is bigger to Man City now. So my question to the board would be, why were we closer to Man City last year than we are now? And how is this progress when Man United need to be first? Forget Ollie for a minute. I'm talking about the board. Man City we were closer to last year. Now we're further away. Why is that? And why are we being told that we're making progress when a team we were closer to has moved further away? Liverpool are better than us. They're just having a weird season. But the gap to the best team in England has got bigger from last year. So how are we progressing? Are we progressing, or are we actually not progressing? And I don't know the real answer to that, because I do see progress in the way that we're playing. Not as much as I would like, but I do see it. I think the truth is we are making progress, but it's slow progress where others are making bigger, quicker progress. So the fact that Man City is now a test, when last year it wasn't so much of a test, shows that they've progressed better than we have. Mark, with Pogba out, would you try playing Bruno in the centre pivot and Danny van der Beek in the 10 for more creativity, says Darry. I think Bruno could play that centre pivot. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. I'm not talking about this 43 million Inter Milan thing. It's such a boring story that people keep going on about. It was a dead story when it came out 3 days ago, and so many people keep talking about it. So Inter Milan have not paid us an instalment for Lukaku, and we're going to get Skriniar or Martinez. It's such a nonsense story. People are getting excited about it. Basically, if I owe you a tenner, I'm not going to give you my Ferrari for it. It's an instalment that Inter Milan haven't apparently paid, but they will pay. And United have apparently said, well, we want Martinez. People are getting excited. I tell you what, you need to really filter down your expectations of Manchester United and look at what we do in the transfer market. And if you think we're going to do anything near anything competent, basically look the other way and expect something incompetent. If you had to pick 3 or 4 players to sell and raise funds, whom would you pick? Also, if you had to buy one of Haaland and Sancho, whom would you buy? I'd buy Sancho, George, because we need a right winger more than we need a striker at the end of the day. If we're making slow progress and others are making better progress, it means we're making progress but backwards, says MAFAAF, Martial Arts Fitness. Yeah. And then, are you actually making progress? I suppose what Ollie's saying across this press conference is that basically what progress will be this season is points total. It's going to be, can we get more than 65 points? But we've almost lowered our expectations again, because if progress this year is measured by getting more than 65 points, 65 points is one of the shittest totals we've ever had in the Premier League history. It's so close to David Moyes, which is the worst one we've ever had. I think he got 64 or 63. So it's not much progress to say progress is better than 65 points. But it looks to me like that's what progress is, and therefore we are progressing if we get more than 65 points. It's just whether it's quick enough progress or whether it's good enough progress. We've got stuck in progress. Congratulations, Mark. You're a legend. Been following you for a while, and I'm very happy for you. Wishing you even more success, says Rick James. Thanks, Rick. Big shout out to you. Normally, a club makes 1 step back and 2 forward. Our club is making 2 steps back and 1 forward, slowly becoming a mid-table club like Arsenal, says DK. We're not making progress, says Nathan. You can count the times we've played well on one hand. That's not progress. Every team can have a good day and play well. He was asked about the dip in form. I want to talk about that. He was asked about why we're dropping off. I think you might find this quite interesting. He said, well, if you compare the result against Palace on Wednesday to the result against Palace last season away. They're very similar performances. The difference is that I think Martial and Rashford scored. I'm sure he said Martial and Rashford. And when an opposition doesn't make mistakes, you need quality. We are still 10 games unbeaten at the moment. And fine margins are what it's all about. So Fine Margins FC are back. We got rid of Fine Margins for 3 months, hadn't we? Fine Margins FC are back. But I don't know where he's going with that. I don't know where he's going with that. Like, so effectively, we beat Palace last year at Palace. He must be talking about the Palace game last year at Selhurst Park, which was in the summer. And I remember that game, and we didn't play very well. McTominay started. He was awful in the first 45 minutes. And I think they scored first, and they could have gone 2-0 up. And we ended up winning the game. And it wasn't vintage United, but it was a win. So I don't know what Ollie's on about by saying that the difference between Palace on Wednesday and Palace away last season, there isn't much difference apart from the fact that we won because we had more quality. Well, is that not like saying that carpet in your living room is not much different to the one in the dining room apart from, well, that one's red and that one's blue? Well, they're different then, aren't they? You know, so I don't think you can talk about fine margins in a game against Crystal Palace. I think you can talk about fine margins in a 0-0 against Chelsea when you should have had a penalty. But I don't think you can use Crystal Palace as a fine margins game. And is he not saying there that effectively we're very reliant on moments of individual quality? Which is something I actually don't think is true. I think we do have tactics. But one of the things some of Ollie's critics say is that he's so reliant on individual quality. And if he doesn't get that, we don't score because we don't create chances. And is he not just saying that there about last season, comparing it to this season? The only difference was we didn't get any individual quality this time. But again, I don't agree with the whole when the opposition don't make mistakes, you need quality. You need quality all the time. I do think there's a dip in form, and I just don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to accept it. And I think publicly he can't accept it because he's got to build up a team that's going through a dip in form. Because he was even asked about that, and he said, "There's no dip in form. I'm not having that." 10 games ago, the story was that we're defending badly, but we're scoring goals. Now we're defending well, but we're not scoring goals, and that's just the story. But it's not the truth. There's not been a dip in form, and I'm not having it. So Solskjaer is refusing to say that we've had a dip in form, even though it's staring him in the face. We have had a dip in form. Look. I don't want to admit we've had a dip in form. I don't think any United fan wants to admit we've had a dip in form. But the example I would use is that Bruno Fernandes is my favourite player at United. He's had an amazing season. He's not had an amazing month. He's had a dip in form. Well, if Manchester United are Bruno Fernandes, and Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United's most influential player, does it not stand to reason that if he's my favourite player and he's one of your favourite players, and we can admit he's not playing well, then surely that translates to a dip in form for Manchester United. I think categorically we've had a dip in form, in my opinion, and I think Solskjaer is publicly trying to say that we're not, because he's trying to keep his players' confidence up into a massive game. But we have had a dip in form, and I think the dip in form is to do with the fact that we've got no creativity in our midfield. I feel that player happiness should be the top priority on top of attractive football at Man United. A happy dressing room will always divert everyone to the board. That's all Ollie needs to do to show the problem to everyone, says Niagan. And second in the league to the best team in the world, favourites for the Europa League, still in the cup, young team. Of course, it's progress. People stop expecting the quadruple, says Robert McCormack. And I think that's not a bad point by Robert, to be fair. This is why I keep saying you've got to wait until May. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer even said it in his press conference. Let's see where we are in March and April. Well, we're in March now, aren't we? But it's true. What did I say this morning? I think right here, right now, to be demanding a manager change and everything else is ridiculous. If in a month's time we're out of all the trophies and we're out of the top four, I think even Robert would say, well, you know, there's an issue there because we've gone from a position of strength to a position of weakness. And these next few weeks are very, very important. I believe we'll get a positive result against Man City on Sunday. I do. I think there will be a response. I don't know whether... I'm worried about whether we... If Pogba was fit or Van der Beek was being used, I'd be more confident. My only thing is, I think we'll get the put a shift in on Sunday. I just don't know whether we'll get the ball in the net, because as I just said a few seconds ago, the problem with United over the last few weeks has been the creativity from midfield. We all know McFred, you put the batteries in, they're going to run around and put the effort in, and people love that. But we're not going to get the creativity. And if you don't get the creativity, you're going to get another game. And I'll predict it right here, right now, again, like I did on the morning of the Chelsea game. Bruno's going to have a bad game on Sunday because he's not going to get any of the ball. He's going to have a frustrating afternoon. He'll have a bad game on Sunday. But it doesn't mean that we can't get a 0-0. Or hopefully scrape a 1-0. This way, Ollie gets to keep his job longer. Our board only sacks someone when the players turn against him. He's playing his cards well, says Niargan. Lack of pre-season and short turnaround may be why Ollie is scared to use the youth. Lack of personnel and injuries may be why Ollie is scared to change it up, says Vicky. And hi Mark, if we sign Rice, Varane and Sancho in the summer, would you consider this a successful transfer window and could we challenge for the title, says Humish. Rice, Varane and Sancho would be a fantastic, unbelievable, I've got to wake up transfer window. I would be over the moon with that transfer window. But we're not winning the title with that team. I think talk of titles needs to disappear why Man City are like this and we don't know what Liverpool are going to be like next year. The gap between us and Man City is absolutely huge. It's bigger than it was last year. So at the moment, that gap has we've not closed the gap yet. You know like what happened with COVID, where you got massive infection rates, and then you knew that those infection rates, unfortunately, were going to mean more deaths. And it hasn't stopped until the infection rate comes down, and then the deaths will carry on, and then they'll come down. It's a horrible, horrific pattern that people have been able to predict for the last year. Infection rates go up, then death rates go up. Infection rates come down, death rates go up for a bit, and then they come down themselves. With Manchester United, the gap between us and Man City at the moment, last season it was probably like that and we beat them twice. It's now getting like that and it's not stopped. This gap is not going to stop. Man City's going to get bigger and bigger. We're actually probably, the gap's probably going like that. It's getting bigger. We're getting worse. They're getting better. So talk of titles needs to disappear from the vocabulary of Manchester United fans for now, because Man City are in a position of strength. What are they going to do in the summer? What if they get Haaland? And also, even if they buy nobody, that squad, that bench is on an elite level compared to ours. So even if you did get Varane, Sancho and Rice, which we won't, by the way, we will not get quality like that. But even if we did, you've got to implement them and then try and, see what happens. That will not instantly make us better than Man City. We do need to spend money. It's the most important thing we need to do because we need 3 or 4 quality players. But that alone won't be it. Once you've got the quality players, you're then reliant on the coach and the tactics and everybody else and whether those signings gel with the players that you've got. So talk of titles, I think it needs to go. We were in a title race for about 2 weeks this year and we needed Man City to stay shit like Liverpool, and they didn't. They found their form of the last 2 years and that was it. It was over. And if Liverpool or Man City, there's 2 of them, that's the problem. If one of them just keeps doing what's been happening for the last 3 years, we won't get anywhere near them. And that's the sad state of affairs. So all this title talk needs to disappear. It's not progress when Jose got his silverware, says Anton. And could be worse, Liverpool. Any news on Grealish, says the big channel. I think we're going to be talking about Grealish on the show tonight, actually, 8 o'clock tonight. Honestly, keeping our expectations aside, do you believe United will spend this summer? My honest answer is no. I don't think they'll spend anywhere near what they need to. I think they will spend, but I don't think we'll get what we want. I think there's so many question marks about the summer. Is Pogba staying or not? I think at this point we need him to stay. Not because he should stay, not because he wants to stay, but because if he goes, we won't replace him. So you'd rather keep an asset than it go. Will we get a centre-back? Will we get a centre defensive midfielder? Will we get a right winger? We need all 3. You can't go into next season. As I said, you cannot compete with a team that's got a better team than you, got better coaches than you, got a better manager than you, got a director of football and got a better board than you. That's 5 things they've got better than us. And then we go into next season and we still haven't got Man City have got a squad, a coach, a director of football and a board. We haven't even got a starting 11. How can we compete against the setup that they've got and Liverpool have got when everything's working well at Liverpool? When we haven't even got a best 11, we're going to go into next season. I'll guarantee you we'll go into next season with either no CDM brought in or no right winger brought in. Well, they're 2 glaring issues. I think we will get a centre-back. God knows how good they'll be. I think we will get a centre-back. But if we don't get a centre-back, a CDM and a right winger, we haven't filled the massive holes in the team. And even if you fill two, you've still got a massive hole there. You can't have holes in your team when you're trying to close a gap on someone like Man City or Liverpool when they're doing well. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. I'm starving. I'm going to go and get some lunch. Please subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Smash a like on the video. And we're back at 8 o'clock tonight. If you want to watch me play FIFA, 3 o'clock on That's Football. I'll see you all in a bit. Thanks for watching. Oh, and a final shout as well. We did hit 1 million subscribers. I've dropped the link in the video description to my vlog. If people have never seen my vlog, it might be a little bit of a treat for you. But I do react to getting 1 million subscribers on there in a little bit different way to what I've done on here. A little bit more open way about the real journey and what's been going on. So please do check the vlog out. It's just gone up and the link is in the video description. Speak to you all soon. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.